So in this video, I want to take a look at a game I played over 2 years ago. And, well, I thought the game was alright. I made a few inaccuracies, but the ending I thought was pretty nice. So my opponent played d4, knight f6, c4, and I decided to go with e5, the Budapest Gambit. And my opponent decided to not take the pawn, which the main line goes to takes and knight g5, or if you want to play the Fajarowicz variation with knight e4. And here, I think I was out of book. It's not a very common move, but it has been played by masters, and well, there are several moves here. Apparently, I chose the least popular one. Maybe it's the worst move out of several. Taking apparently is one of the better moves, and after takes you can transpose into an exchange French, I believe, or at least something similar. The other popular move is bishop b4 check, and after knight c3 apparently you transpose into some kind of English. Now I don't play the French with the black pieces or the English with white, so I'm not sure whether that's actually true. And after e4, knight c3, I played c6, which apparently is the best move. And here my opponent played something which I didn't like, a3. I don't think the pin is that big of a deal, and besides, I'm not concerned with playing bishop b4 yet, because I want to get d5 in. So after a3 I was very happy because I get to play d5 immediately. And, well, here, let me just show what I meant. Instead of a3, if d5 immediately, well, it's easy to see with the engine what you should do, but it's not so obvious because after d5 the threat is d6 and this bishop is not getting out along this diagonal, so you have to play g6 and put the bishop on g7. And if you have the pawns on d6 and c5, you are getting squished by the pawns. I mean, this is probably losing, so it's a very serious threat. But the computer's like, oh, just play bishop d6, and, well, here if you take, obviously you can't take with the knight because the bishop is hanging, so you have to take with the d-pawn. And, well, I'm not a fan of this position because the pawn on c6 is preventing the knight from going to c6. And, well, that means that the knight has to go to d7, which means the bishop has to move first, probably to e6 or g4. So after a3, I was happy that I can get d5 in without any issues. And here my opponent played another move which I thought was inaccurate, c5, releasing the tension. I think, I don't know, knight g2 is what the computer suggests. So after c5, just bishop e7, f3. So now it's clear that my opponent wants to start opening up the center, but I don't know if that's a great idea since white has only one piece developed against two of black's. And you can see the evaluation already. Black is slightly better. Here I played bishop f5, which the engine doesn't like that much, prefers castles and something like queen c2. The reason being is after f5, you can play g4 and g5. Now I don't know if, well, maybe some people would play like this, but it's very sharp and complicated. So my opponent just traded, and I recaptured with the knight. Taking with the bishop apparently is better. So just knight f3, continuing the development. And here I played h6, which is probably not the best waiting move. The engine likes this line, which I thought was pretty strange. Knight 6 and then b6. And well, with white, I'm not sure why you would want to trade your good bishop, because all of these pawns are blocking this bishop, so I think it's just good for black. And then here just castling. I was just like, okay, why are you giving up the pawn? Why can't I just take it? And well, depending on what engine you look at this position with, it either says equal or black has an advantage or white has a slight advantage. So we traded. And here my opponent wasted another tempo playing bishop d3. Again, not sure why he wants to trade his good bishop for my bad bishop, because I have the two pawns on the light squares. So it's just good for me. And here, well, the engine doesn't really like this move, capturing on c5. But it's not like it's a blunder or really a mistake. And now I just activate my rook along the only open file. And here my opponent played e5, which maybe I could have tried to stop by playing knight f6 here instead of rook b8. So maybe that was better. And here I just recapture. Now here the engine recommends knight f6, which I don't get, because allowing e5 is like, what are you doing? And after knight e4, bishop f4, threatening to push the pawn, unleashing the attack on the rook. In this position, I was like, it looks like a pretty boring position until you see this move. All the engines prefer this move, g5. And it's like, no, this is too sharp, too complicated. And this king looks safe. This king is looking very exposed. So no, I'm not gonna play this move, g5. I don't care if it's the best move in the position. So I just took the pawn. And after queen takes, well, the pawn is hanging, so rook c8. Now I wanted to keep the rook along this file, but if I go queen c7, then bishop f4, this is the exchange. So after rook c8, bishop f4, knight f6. The queen goes back all the way to c2. Queen f5 was much better. And after knight d5, my opponent just blundered with bishop e3. Knight d5 was much better, allowing me to take the bishop. And, well, if queen d5, I have ideas of bishop f6, rook d8, just putting pressure on this pawn. But this knight is very well placed, so there's really not much of an advantage for black. I mean, the position looks equal, so. But after bishop g3, I just win an exchange, and this looks like a pretty simple technical win. Here I played queen d7. I should have played queen d5 immediately because of knight e5. So queen d7, and I lose a tempo. And here my opponent just made a strategic mistake. It looks like it works, and I could see why he would play it. But this central pawn is much more important than the pawn on the side of the board, because then once I take this pawn, then this pawn becomes a target, and this pawn, although it's passed, it has a long way to go before it's gonna promote, so it just doesn't work. And here the computer likes taking with the bishop, but I took with the queen because I'm up material, so why not? And my opponent played queen b7. The engine likes takes because of this, and you get the exchange back. Now you're still down 2 pawns, but, well, no, this is looking pretty hopeless. So I guess queen b7 may be more practical. And here you could take on c6. So I guess we both were running very low on time because we missed queen takes c6, I think at least 3 times. And again, after bishop d6, you could take on c6. So takes, bishop takes. You cannot take the exchange because, well, if you take the rook, you just take back with the bishop, and you're just down a piece. So you have to take the bishop, and after rook b2, I mean, you're up an exchange, and these pawns are isolated and weak. This pawn is looking like it's gonna drop. So queen d7, and you're just losing the knight. So first I won the exchange, then I won a piece, so now I'm up a rook, basically. And after this, well, there's not much to analyze, but I thought the ending was pretty nice. Queen f5, you can't take it because you get mated. Rook g1, well, I'm just gonna trade and be up a rook, making left for the king. Captures, queen b1 check, very important. And after king a2, queen check. Now it looks like you're just giving random checks, but you're not. And here I mean, everything is losing. So after this move, well, rook c8 and my opponent resigned, because if you move the queen, then you get mated, and if anything else, well, if you take, this is obviously winning. So this was a pretty nice game, I thought. Although at first I was a little disappointed when my opponent didn't go for the main line, and by playing capturing on e5. But that happens sometimes. You don't get the line that you want, and well, you have to play some other position. But in this case, it turned out well, and I thought the ending was pretty nice. So I hope that you liked the video and that you learned something. If you did, hit the like button and share and subscribe. And thank you for watching.